this very first painting on the course, I want to have a go at some simple shapes and looking at the edges in particular and some techniques we can use just using black and white. So I've got the easel set up with my canvas on it and just some black paint here. I'm going to start by drawing in the lines just on the canvas. Now I'm making this picture up really. I just want to use some simple shapes so that we can just get a feel for the paint, see how it works, and begin to understand some of the mixing techniques that we're going to use throughout the course. So we've got a cylinder. I'm just adding on a cube here to give us some nice straight lines, and a circle. Now if you're painting along with this demonstration, don't do it too big because you'll have a lot of area to cover then, so we just want to keep it fairly small, just a few inches across really, just so that we can have a go at techniques without using up too much paint really. Putting in some shadows here, all important just to ground it all. Now the first thing we need to do after the lines are drawn is to block in with the dark tones. It's usual to go from dark to light in oil paints. If you're a watercolour painter, you'll be used to working from light to dark, but in oils it's usually the other way around, and usually the dark paint goes on fairly thin and the lighter paint goes on much thicker. And what we want to do first of all is just to block in just with our black paint just the areas that are the darkest here, because we want to begin to give it some form and to see where the painting is going to work before we carry on with it too much and get too detailed with it. We want to just get the basic forms in here. So I'm just coming in with a black paint and filling in what I think are going to be the darkest areas in the picture here. Now the light's coming from the left, and so all the shadows are on the right. We then want to add in the mid-tones, so I'm just using some black paint again, but I've just watered it down a little bit. It's just a little bit thinner, so I'm using water-based oils here, so I've literally just added a little bit of water to the brush. If you're working with traditional oils, then just add a little bit of terps to the brush just to thin the paint down, and it'll give you a thin grey. So it's just a thin wash that's going on really, and as the colour of the canvas shows through, it becomes this sort of grey colour. So there we are, we've beginning to get our tones here, the dark and the light. Just wash off my brush and give it a good old dry on a piece of cloth. With water-based oils is so much easier to do that than with terps. Changing brushes now then, and gone for a flat, and we're going to start working on the overpainting. So this is where we're coming in with a little bit thicker paint, and we're just going to tidy up the initial painting that we've got here. So coming in over the black areas, everything that I think is in the darkest shadow is black. We're really just going to be working in three tones here. We're going to be working in black, in a medium tone grey, and in white. So keeping everything very simple for this first exercise. So that's all the black areas just about done, and I want now to mix up a grey, so I'm going to go with a little bit of white in with the black, mix that together. We're not using thin down paint now, we're coming in with thicker paint because I want to be able to blend the colours together later. So we're mixing up a nice grey here with the white and the black, no thinners or water this time, just coming in straight with the white and the black. And we're going to put that mid-tone grey in where I'd marked it out earlier with the underpainting. So we just need to cover all the grey areas in the painting that we've got. Again, when we finish with that, I just need to clean up the brush, which I'm going to do in water again with the water-based oils. cleaned off in terps if that's what you're using. And then finally, with a drier brush again, we're going to come in and put in the whites. So we're not leaving the white of the canvas. In watercolour you'd always leave the white of the paper, but we're just going to come in with white paint, want the whole of the canvas covered with paint of some kind or another, and that will enable us to then go on to the next stage, which is blending them together. Now for some of these lines and things we want to get a nice blended effect, nice smooth effect, a transition from one colour to another. So I'm just working over with a fairly clean brush. I keep wiping it on a rag and cleaning it. I want to get this effect of blended edges. Keep cleaning the brush on a rag, come back in and just wipe over those areas just to allow the different tones to blend together in the painting. Just do some of that on that round shape as well. Now obviously I'm not going to blend things in on the edges of the cube because we want nice crisp edges there. Coming in with a slightly smaller brush just to do any sort of tidying up that needs to be done. There we go. So we've got smooth edges here blended together, we've got crisper edges around the edges of the cube. Notice how those two shapes are joined together, and we've got again sort of smooth edges around the light there. Finally we want to come in with a fairly dry brush, so I've just got a little bit of paint on the brush and just going to pull out these sort of feather shapes. So as the brush is coming over the canvas, it's producing a ragged edge, really, because there's not thick paint on there. There's just enough to pull out, make that shape, and to create these ragged edges. So we've got smooth edges blended together, we've got crisp edges, and we've got broken edges, all working together in this painting. That's the effect that I really wanted to achieve. And there's the finished painting. So why don't you have a go at that and see how you get on.